A 10-year-old boy has a vision.
God said, this is going to be your daughter, and her name is going to be Khloe.
And 20 years later, it miraculously comes true.
I just had full body shivers. It was like the Holy Spirit is just right there.
See Walt and Annie's beautiful adoption story on today's 700 Club Interactive. Well, welcome to the show. Chip and Joanna Gaines have announced that they're leaving their hit show, Fixer Upper, revealing on Tuesday that season 5 of the show will be their last.
The popular couple made the announcement on Joanna's Magnolia Market blog on Tuesday, expressing the difficulties they had in making the decision to conclude their show.
Hi everybody, Chip and Joanna Gaines here in Waco, Texas. Of course, at the farm where it all started. One thing led to another, and of course a pilot was born called Fixer Upper. We are making an announcement today that the 5th season will be our last.
You know, I think this is one of those, it's such a bittersweet time for us, because the last 5 years, I mean, this has been our life, the show, the crew here.
They've become like family,
yes,
you know?
These homes that we've, gotten to renovate for these beautiful families. It's just become such a big part of our lives. Y'all have become a big part of our lives.
And the experience has been like nothing we could have ever predicted. Never would have imagined in a million years that God would have had this kind of a journey for Joe and I and our family and our beautiful business here in Waco. So thank you. We can't wait to see what's next. We believe in our hearts that we're going to see you again right around the corner. So stay tuned.
Oh, they're going to be missed.
What am I going to do on Tuesday nights now? I don't know.
You got to find another show.
That's right. Wonderful family. You know, I think the thing that made them so popular is they represent so many of the family values and cultural values that we all hold dear. And so we wish them the best. Wonderful program. Well, from hurricanes to earthquakes, churches and faith-based organizations lead the way in helping recover after numerous natural disasters.
Well, as John Jessup reports, that's a point that's not lost on the government, the media, and most importantly, the people in need.
On this day, it's all fun and games at the Johnston home just outside of Houston. A far cry from nearly 3 weeks ago when Hurricane Harvey hit the Texas Gulf Coast. Days of rain sent a nearby river surging to biblical levels.
John, they actually said this was going to be an 800-year flood high from the Brazos River.
Water streamed onto their property.
To see our backyard turn into a lake, see the kids swing set, the water come up on that, again, it was just terrifying.
Initially, county officials told residents to shelter in place.
Then we're told, don't hide in the attic, go on the roof. And that's when I freaked out. Because how do you go on the roof with 5 kids? How do you go on the roof with triplet boys?
Hours later came the mandatory evacuation order. Jeremiah and Audrey packed up their 5 kids and took off. They drove for 4 nightmarish hours trying to escape before being forced into harm's way. Driving into oncoming traffic became their only option.
Because our car would have gotten stuck that way, so we had to go straight.
So we have our hazard lights flashing on our vehicle. I'm flashing, I'm doing my horn, and I'm praying.
We didn't know going forward if there was another car, and thankfully there wasn't.
When we got to the hotel that night, I broke down because finally I realized we were safe.
For a whole week, they relied on the kindness of other Christians for housing, with offers from strangers and friends alike. When the order was finally lifted, the Johnstons returned to find their home mostly intact.
You have to replace walls? Yeah, everything is brand new.
Audrey saw their good fortune and something else.
Because the Lord allowed our home to be spared, that it's our duty and honor to go help those who weren't as fortunate.
The Johnstons know they're fortunate to have survived with minimal damage to their home, and more importantly, for everyone to stay safe. And as first-time hurricane survivors, they're even more appreciative of the prayer and support of the church.
It's been amazing to see the church at work and to step up and be the hands and feet of Jesus.
In the wake of Hurricanes Harvey and Irma, churches have proven to be invaluable partners, outpacing the work of the government. Jeremiah, a Bible college professor, believes these storms serve as a reminder of the significance of the church.
There are voices that say Christianity's passé. God is irrelevant. The church is so irrelevant. We don't need the church anymore. Guess what? No one was saying that after Hurricane Harvey.
John Jessup, CBN News, Richmond, Texas.
So congratulations to all the faith-based groups that are still working hard,
Yes.
Not just in Texas, but also in Florida, in Mexico, and now Puerto Rico. There are so many needs, but it's wonderful. The church is stepping up, and whether that's the Southern Baptists or the Mennonites or Crew or Samaritan's Purse or our own Operation Blessing, we're there. Now, here's something to think about. FEMA right now has an internal rule saying they can't help rebuild houses of worship. And whether it's a church or a synagogue or a mosque, they're saying there's no government assistance for that rebuilding. That's not part of the law, and there's currently a court case questioning it, challenging it on a constitutional basis. But wouldn't it be wonderful if the government recognized churches are on the forefront of providing the relief, and therefore should not be excluded from the government benefit when it comes to rebuilding?
Absolutely. It's been wonderful to see volunteers that have come out of the Christian community and just continue to stay and help and work. So kudos to all of them. Well, students around the country gathered last Wednesday to pray for their schools.
See You at the Pole, the Global Day of Student Prayer, began in 1990 with 10 students praying at their school. 27 years later, millions pray on their campuses on the fourth Wednesday every September.
Well, as you can see in these pictures, students meet at the school flagpole before school. They lift up their friends, their families, teachers, the school itself, and their nation to God. And it's not just our nation participating. This is a global event. And if you participated, we want you to know we'd love to get your pictures. Send your photos and videos to newswatch@cbn.org.
And keep in mind, prayer changes
Boy,
things.
it sure does.
It's the best thing we can do. And I think now more than ever, we need to be praying for America.
Mm-hmm. Coming up, a couple struggles with infertility.
We were thinking, this isn't going to happen for us. We're just fools.
I struggled with questioning God's goodness in that time because I just felt like it was so mean.
See the beautiful ending to their story that was over 20 years in the making. Stay with us. Some stories leave a lasting impression on you, and this next story is one of those. Over 52 million people have watched it online, and you're going to see why in just a moment. The story begins with a young boy who liked to spend time with God, and it ends with the promise that came true over 20 years later.
I grew up on my parents' 100-acre property, and I refused to stay inside. I loved being in nature. I would just go out there by myself, and I'd have all this time, and I would be talking to God, and we'd have this conversation, and I didn't know that that was strange or unusual. I would just pray to him, and then sometimes he would say something to me and speak to me. I was about 10 or 12 years old. Middle of the day, God gives me a very vivid picture of a little kid, and I'm holding her, swinging around in my parents' yard, and she's just laughing like crazy. In the picture that I had in my mind, she had dark skin and dark eyes, and God said, "This is going to be your daughter, and her name is going to be Khloe."
Walt and I grew up together. I think he moved to town the year I was born, so we've known each other my whole life. When I was 10, we moved right across the pasture from him, so we grew up together. My whole life, I was like, I think Walt Manus is amazing. And I always thought when I grow up, I want to find someone just like him who was in my age group. I went to university about 30 minutes from where he was living, and when I went, he just kind of came in and helped get me settled and helped introduce me to a church. And so we just started spending more and more time together, and we were sitting in his car just talking, and we had this conversation about what our dreams and our hopes were for the future. And I said that I felt like God had just made me to be a mom. That's what I wanted. More than anything, I wanted to be a mother. And I said that I had actually a name picked out already that I wanted to name my daughter. And he said, I do too, which I thought was weird because, you know, I didn't think guys did that.
And I was like, well, what's the name? And she said, Khloe.
And he's like, you've got to be kidding me.
You won't believe this. God gave me, when I was 12, that name, Khloe.
So he's telling me this story, and I'm thinking, this is crazy. Like, first of all, I don't have a lot of experience with God speaking to me like that. In the picture, Khloe always had olive skin, so he always thought he would marry a woman with olive skin.
She can't have a brown-eyed child. I didn't know what to do with it.
I think we both knew pretty early on that we were going to get married. It just, I don't know. The best way I can describe it is that Walt felt like home to me. Like, from the very beginning, I felt like, yeah, this is where I belong with this guy. When we first got married, we decided we wanted to wait a little while to have children. We ended up traveling, doing some work with some different missions agencies. We thought it was just gonna happen immediately, you know, and so we were like, yeah, let's start our family, let's have children. And, you know, months turned into years, and pretty soon we were 4 years into trying and still nothing.
I had always clung to this promise that God had given me about the daughter, so I didn't know when it was gonna happen, but it was starting to get hard to wait.
It was really hard. It was really, I don't know, I think I struggled with questioning God's goodness in that time because I just felt like it was so mean, you know, like such a mean thing to do. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, so there was like a probably 4.5-year period that I would say was really, really hard on us individually, on us in our marriage, and also like the way we were relating with God. Especially for me, I felt like, is God good even when he's not doing things that I would define as good?
All of her friends were having kids, and she had to just wait and put on this cheesy smile, this fake smile, and say, we're happy for you. And every time that we would hear about someone getting pregnant, we would just be devastated because we were thinking, this isn't gonna happen for us. We're just fools. We're fools who want kids, and it's never gonna happen.
There were tons of people praying for us and with us, people that we didn't even know. Like, people would come to us and say, oh, this Bible study group I'm a part of is praying for you guys, is praying for this situation. And I don't know, that was a really special thing to get to feel like the body of Christ on a larger scale, like standing with you through something.
Annie's like, well, maybe we're supposed to adopt, and I was adamantly against it.
How are you feeling about adoption?
Yeah, I want to speak about adoption.
I had this thought of like, I called it a Band-Aid baby. We are struggling, we are hurting, and you know, I didn't want just a fix. I didn't want just some kid. I wanted the kid that we were supposed to have, you know? And God just like, he progressed me from like being adamantly against adoption to be like, you know, I just want the kid that God wants. Maybe it's not supposed to come through biological means. Maybe it's supposed to be through adoption.
So what do you think?
I think that I'm very excited to adopt, but waiting will be hard.
I remember one night we were at Walt's sister's house and I was checking my email, and there was an email that came in and it said, it's a girl. I clicked on it and I realized it was from the adoption agency, and they said, we just wanted to let you know that a birth mother has chosen you guys, and yeah, you're gonna be parents. And I was like, I just sat there looking at the email like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this.
Annie gets this email, she's super excited, and I'm just like, I'm gonna wait and see.
She'll be born in late February or early March.
Coming close.
And we're working on her name right now.
We're working on it.
The name Khloe is completely off the table. We've abandoned it.
We had decided, oh, that was just a fluke thing. That was a coincidence that we both liked that name, you know. That was nothing. And so we had even talked about a different name, and the social worker working with us, she says, okay, well, the birth mother would like to meet you before she has the baby. And we were like, yes, we want to meet her. Sounds great. And so we took a trip up to Wichita.
Today's the big day, huh?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
We're going to meet Alice for the first time.
You nervous?
Oh, yeah. A little bit. We went to the house where she was living and we knocked on the door and
She opens the door and it looks like a grown-up version of this little girl in my head that was from the past. And I was like, oh my goodness, what in the world, you know? And so in a second, in my head, the name was back on the table.
we went up to this room and sat and talked for, I don't know, 3 hours or so.
The social worker says, nah, let's talk about a name. Have you thought of a name?
She said, yeah, well, ever since I got pregnant, even before I knew it was a girl, I've been calling this baby Khloe.
We were just floored.
And both Walt and I mean, I don't even remember what we did exactly. I just know that I was ugly crying.
We were weeping and she was like, oh, you hate the name. And we're like, oh my goodness, no, we love the name. God has spoken, he's told us this name.
It just dawned on me before I ever even knew you guys existed or anything. Just was like, I want to name, you know, this little girl Khloe, and I didn't know if you guys would like it or stick with it or anything like that. I just kind of figured maybe you'd have something else, but so that's why, like, when I threw it out there, I was just kind of like, I've been calling her Khloe. And then you guys, oh, and I'm like, okay, I'm sorry, it's my name.
All those doubts about having the Band-Aid baby were just completely out of the window, and it felt like I just had full body shivers. It was like the Holy Spirit is just right there.
This is so much a God thing that's going on right now. You've been planned for a long time. Before you were even conceived, we knew your name. And I think we know what you're gonna look like. I don't know, but we'll see. I love you. We look forward to seeing you.
This surreal presence of God was just all around us, and I felt him saying to me, see how much I love you? Do you see this? Like, do you see what I've done? Like, I've been writing this story. You had no idea. I've been writing this story for years, since Walt was a kid.
Day of.
Yeah.
What were you about to do?
Go to the hospital. I can't find your toothbrush holder.
Oh no, are you nervous?
A little bit.
Yeah, I was just crazy nervous that morning. Like, I remember going to the hospital and then all of a sudden it was happening. All of a sudden the doctor came in and was like, okay, she's ready and you're gonna have a baby now. And I don't know, and there was just all this movement and bustling around, and then Khloe was there. Like, I was looking at this baby, my baby. I was just looking at her all of a sudden, like she wasn't there and then she was there.
Big girl, how you doing, Amy?
I'm good, I'm really good.
Yeah.
So many years of anticipating her as a child. She's here, you know? She's been a part of my life for so long and she's finally here.
I remember just holding her and looking at her face and being like, I'm your mom, I'm your mom. And I just sounded so weird to say those words.
There was no mistake. I am the father of this child, just like God had always planned it to be. And I'm completely owning it, like on cloud nine, just amazed at what God has done.
It was like he was whispering to me in that moment, like, I've been here this whole time. And you didn't know, but I've been here this whole time. I've been walking this thing with you. And I was just saying, trust me, trust me, trust me, trust me. I've got something good. I've got something good up ahead.
It's a constant struggle to just sit in his sovereignty. And when everything is falling apart in your mind, just to wait.
And there were so many people that got to celebrate with us. I can't even count the number of people who came and said that that they had prayed for us, or that they had waited for this baby with us, or that our story had somehow spoken to them. I don't know. It was just such a special time of seeing, like, this wasn't just about me and Walt and this baby and our birth mother. It was about, like, all these people that God wanted to touch and encourage and bless through this story.
He just doesn't leave anything to chance. It's not random, and it's amazing. It's a miracle, you know. It only speaks of God. People can say, it's just a coincidence, you know. You can't convince me that.
I think God is incredible. I think it's incredible the way that he flung the stars into space, and that same God, the same God who keeps the world from falling apart, he loves me. He loves me. With or without us ever having a child, that's what he's taught me through this. Like, he loves me. And I can be so secure in that love. And to be able to trust that and to rest in that, I mean, it's the greatest gift.
Wow, wow, wow. I mean, Khloe is not just a precious little girl. She's a picture of God's love, of the fact that we can trust him. We can trust him that when we see him the least, he's maybe working the most, and he's in your tomorrow already. What a great story. We'd like to thank our friends at the Christian filmmaking ministry Moving Works for this story. You can watch the full version of Khloe and other short films like this for free at their website. It's movingworks.org. Gordon?
Well, still ahead, after the earthquakes in Mexico, Operation Blessing was there. See how they brought much needed supplies to some very desperate people. That's next, so stay with us. When the earthquake struck Mexico, Operation Blessing workers trekked through the night to reach people in desperate need. Here's what they found in one of the towns near the epicenter.
When the earthquake started, they were worried because they couldn't get to the kids, so the kids were screaming, crying. Finally, when their grandmother got to them, they were very preoccupied, and what they were telling us is that they lost their homes, all of their food, all of their things. They don't have any place to sleep because they are sleeping on tents. But they are so grateful because they say that nobody ever remembers them, and that they are so grateful that we are here to help them because now they have a place to sleep.
Far into the epicenter. This is the Pueblo region, and we've been going from village to village, town to town, and seeing scenes of utter devastation. It's about 11 o'clock at night. We've come here, we've talked to the local town leader, and they told us they need a lot of help, and it's evident that they do. Everywhere we look, there are houses down, houses condemned, and their families sleeping out in the elements. It's just been raining. We found this family with small children that are sleeping out in the rain. They need support, and that's why Operation Blessing's here providing tents. We have hundreds of tents in a truck we bought to this community. We're distributing tents all throughout this town and many more like it, places where homes are destroyed and people really need our help. We're here for them because of your support, and we thank you so much. Please continue to support Operation Blessing in this critical time for Mexico. Thank you.
Well, if you want to be a part of it, give us a call, 1-800-700-7000, and say, I want to give to Operation Blessing Disaster Relief. We're on the ground now in Texas, in Florida, in Mexico, and in Puerto Rico, and we're getting stretched thin. But just because we're getting stretched thin doesn't mean we stop. We've got to recognize there are people in Mexico, people in Puerto Rico that don't have access to water, don't have access to food, certainly don't have access to shelter, and we want to help them, and we want to be there for them. So if you want to be a part of it, all you have to do is go to the phone and call us, 1-800-700-7000, and say, I want to give to the Operation Blessing Disaster Relief Fund. Now, there's an address you can write to, CBN Center, Virginia Beach, Virginia, 23463, if you want to write a check and send that in. And on the memo line, just put Operation Blessing Disaster Relief, and your gift will go into that designated fund. This is a designated fund where it goes into disaster relief, and whether that disaster is in Mexico, Puerto Rico, Texas, Florida, you're going to be helping all of it, and we really need the support now.
Yeah, you know, one of the hallmarks to me of Operation Blessing Disaster Relief is that, you know, you stop hearing about it on the news, but our folks are there for a long, long time afterwards. This isn't something that just gets fixed like that. So your commitment to help makes it possible for us to stay.
Yeah, we want to be there right after the disaster with food, water, but then the longer term shelter for people in Texas and Florida, cleaning out their homes, getting them ready so that no mold sets in. You're part of all of it, so call us now, 1-800-700-7000. Here's a verse from Psalms, because your steadfast love is better than life, my lips shall praise you. God bless you. We'll see you again.